Welcome to the What's Your Revolution Show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew, joined by my dude, my friend, my revolutionary in residence. That's what we're going to call you.
I like
the
that.
Revolutionary in residence. This is our 9th episode of Revolt and Evolve with my dude, as I said, Dr. Travis Batts. What's good, Dr. Travis Batts?
Man, I told you I am in your city, right? I came down here ready to grow. I am in New Orleans. It is wonderful. And New Orleans at Christmas time's got a way different vibe. And that lets you know how dedicated I am to the show, because I could be out there in the vibe, but I'd much rather have this poignant conversation with you, my brother.
You don't need to be out there in the vibe. I just want you to know.
What? Okay,
I just want you to know you don't need to be out there in the vibe. Like no. You don't need to be
Why can't I enjoy the vibe? Why can't I enjoy the vibe?
Look, yes, that's right. I just want to say that Dr. Batts and I, for the first time, we met each other in DC a couple of weeks ago. We had not met in person, and we had a ball. Like literally, yes. Mrs. Batts, everything was PG, G rated. Just want everybody to know, Dr. Batts is like a. It felt like Disney World. That's how G-rated it was.
It was.
It was. Yeah.
DC
that's
vegan.
That's right. The food was good.
Yes,
yeah.
You got to experience. You complained a little bit about the what was it? Seaweed bacon. It was even though you ate it, I didn't see anything left. I mean, DC vegan. Shout out. Great experience. Great vibe. So you didn't say you were hungry. You got food.
I was hungry. It was early in the morning. I was hungry. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was stupid. I was stupid hungry.
It was good food. It was good food.
Out the night before. Yeah, we had been out the night before. Shout out to the commander.
Yes.
To the commander.
Commander Corey Doolittle. He got us where we needed to go.
Commander Corey Doolittle, super fan, and Dr. Travis Batts got a chance to meet each other in person. Yep. So shout out to the brother for coming to pick us up and just, hanging out and doing his thing, being the smart black man that we're going to call him Dr. Corey Doolittle, but Commander Corey Doolittle is. So thank you, dear brother, for, all that you are in the world, man. You get the most shout outs on this show. So, but yeah, we had a good time. It was nice. Tell me,
it was wonderful.
So what was that like? What was that like meeting for the first time for you?
It was, to say the word surreal, I think, makes it too over the top, but it's one of those things where, I felt like we knew each other. And what was interesting was people that would see us together in terms of we would go to one place or another. They were surprised at how, y'all just met. What do you mean? And I said, well, we just met physically. And I think what that does is that underscores the value of something that I don't think a lot of people do, is literally just talk and communicate.
Yeah.
Because we talked about, and this was a show we had several, months ago, where we talked about the 2 tenets of relationship, and the way that you grow a relationship is through time. And then one of them is communication, right? And over this time, I've got to learn about you. You've got to learn about me. And although we didn't physically see each other, it was those conversations where either we would be on the show or talking. And then when we met in person, it was just that same synergy just carried over. Yeah. And so it was cool and interesting to see that, again, you are literally the same in person, which is a good thing. But because sometimes you talk to people and then when you see them out in person, what you're expecting is different, but it was the same. I mean, of course, you came straight off of J. Crew magazine when you showed up. Come on, man. I'm just saying, man.
Don't put me in the Eurocentric magazine, brother.
I need to know, but what I don't know. I was asking. I'm like, man, I need the snapshot or something, because the leather jacket
and GQ or something. There was a magazine when I used to read when I was back in my stylist days, when I didn't wear a lot of athleisure. It was called Code. It was like the men's style magazine, man. Yeah, brother. We try to kill the game when we go out, man. Let me tell you.
I see that. Yeah. I see that. I mean,
we should get look. Beckett Seminon we need Beckett Seminon to sponsor this show, brother. Like that brother. See, he got on his Beckett. Look, my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I was like, I want some Beckett Seminons.
I'm gonna tell you like this. I have given a lecture, had 2 appearances. These boots have been on, let's see, 8, almost 12 hours.
For walking.
And my feet feel great. And I don't know if the folks at Beckett's Seminar are listening. I mean, we walked the streets of DC, without any issue. We had one of Commander Doolittle had the tennis shoes on, and they were doing what they needed to do. And I tell people, you should put a link in the description. I know this is going on YouTube, but put a link in the description just so people can engage. Because again, I think it's a great testament to when people put the value behind what they do, you see it. And whenever I talk to people about value, I always say that there are 3 paradigms of products, right?
Here we go, revolutionaries. You knew it was coming. I know, but look, I just got to put it in this interjection. Like, when Corey Doolittle got in the car, he was like, "Man, you got some 3 acronyms for me?" He was like, "Man, I know this dude. I got the PRP."
There we go. You know, I was going to throw it in there. I got to.
Okay, so give us these 3 tenets.
For products, but this is you could use this. So either you can have a product that is high quality, done quickly, or low cost, right? And so when you look at those things, you can have 2, but you never can have all 3. It's impossible. And I think what Beckett's Seminar does is they lay heavy on the high quality and the low cost, because you're gonna wait a little while to get these high quality shoes. But when you think about what you get out of them, when you think about the craftsmanship that goes in, and again, when you look at how we develop true relationships, right? It's not something that happens fast. So you can have a high quality relationship that is a low emotional cost in terms of what you have to give, because it is reciprocal. And we can bring this whole thing around a relationship. So when you look at
I was going to come at, that's right. There's pursuit and nourishment, and that's what's happening. And you pursuing the shoes, and when you get them, they nourish you.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And when people start to look at moving into, and this is December, right? And we're moving into this new year and this new space, really start to value the quality of your relationships. Really start to value the time that you put into your relationships, and really start to value the cost of that relationship. And sometimes relationships cost too much. And I'm not talking a monetary cost. I'm talking an emotional cost. I'm talking a mental cost. I'm talking, it is taxing sometimes with people that don't have the energy that you had. I mean, and I was refreshed and energized, I think, one night, and it was all business. We were out discussing, and it was, before I looked at the clock, it was 3 a.m. 1:30 in the morning. Yeah, 1:30. You said 3 a.m. Yeah.
It was 3 a.m. on my watch. I don't know what Dr. Batts was talking about. It was 3
I was on West Coast time. I was on West Coast. Clearly, West Coast. I was on West Coast time, brother.
Gotcha. I mean, but I mean, we had to let Commander Doolittle go. We were like, "Hey, we know that you got a kitchen pass tonight." We were like, is it time to go? Yeah. I think that was the first night. The first night was 1:30. I mean, we used to call him Eli, Dr. Beatty and I were always, we used to call them entourage nights.
Okay. I see it. Yeah. I see it.
And that's what we had. We had 2 entourage nights. And I want to give a shout out to my good friends from the class of 93 JMU. You got to meet them. We had a wonderful dinner at the Four Seasons at their steakhouse, but you got to meet 4 of the most prolific brothers that you would ever want to meet. My college best friend, DeGal, my other college best friend, Paul, and my close friend, like he's my dude, Brian, man. Just we have been tight for so long, and I posted the picture. Unfortunately, you wanted to take the picture and not be in it. But I said, surround yourself with kings. And that's, you think about the conversations that we had that night, and let's circle it, right? These are 5 well-established, 5 or 6 of us now, and 6 of us in there having conversations about, life. And when I say revolutionaries, what, we talk about conversations about life, is that we were talking about what it means to be men in their late 40s and 50s. And the things that, the issues and challenges, the joys, the trials, all of those things that make up who we are as Black men in this country, and Black men in our families, Black men in our communities, at our jobs. I mean, and you were just sitting at the table dropping dimes. Like you were literally Stephen Curry out there dropping dimes on how we can take care of our total health. That's right, revolutionaries. I said that. How we can take care of our total health. Because Dr. Batts is always our conscious when it comes to our health. And one of the things that men don't talk about, we're going to talk about here for a second. Men don't talk about as we grow older. We still want to be able to perform, and we still want to be able to perform in the bedroom. It is a part of who we are. It is a part of our masculinity. It is a part of, as one woman said to me, sex is an elixir. It is good for my mental health. Yes, it is great for my mental health. I am a happier, less cantankerous man when I'm having regular sex. Like literally, right? I know it's like, you just talked about sex. Yeah, we are saying this out loud. Sex is really good for your mental health. It is good for your physical health. The endorphins, the neuroepinephrines, the ability to, release whatever's going on in your life. And I'm not talking about the physical release right there, but whatever's able to go on in your life. For those moments, you have the ability to turn off the world. And that is why it's good. And for men, and particularly as we know that diabetes and hypertension and cardiovascular disease are not even precursors, but they are very correlated to sexual dysfunction, particularly in men. And so having the ability to take care of yourself, to mitigate diabetes, to mitigate cardiovascular disease, to mitigate hypertension, you are going to have a more robust sex life. Well, we've got one of the top renowned cardiologists in the world talking about cardiac health and talking, cardiac. And one of the questions that came up was like, how do I make sure that I am protecting my prowess when I want to have as men in early 50s moving into, not even middle age. We're already in middle age, but moving into these spaces. And the one thing that we're sitting at the table listening to this world renowned cardiologist says is take care of your heart. If you can take care of your heart, you can take care of your pee-pee, right? You know what I'm saying? You can take care of your phallus. You can, I'm off the thing today. You can take care. If you take care of your heart. And Dr. Batts is going to tell us, like, one of the things why he is vegan, because, a heart healthy diet comes from a plant-based diet. So that is true. Give us one of your 18,000 recipe.
I knew you were gonna make that part of the conversation come up. But the interesting thing was it continued to come up.
It did.
It continued to evolve in terms of what that discussion was, because as Dr. Corprew said, it is something that is ingrained, I don't think not only in men, but more so in men than women. And this is a generalization. I'm sure that there are folks that feel differently, but I know that when men come to see me, right, we're going to talk about heart health, but there is often a question when I'm treating a condition, will this impact X? Right? They don't care about, hey, in 5 years, if I don't treat it, I'm going to have this risk. It is, will it impact my ability to perform? And I had the pleasure of working with a group who really wanted to dig deep in this. And I'll send you the article, but we did an article, a review article about 2 years ago called The Benefits of Lifestyle Strategies in the Prevention and Treatment of Erectile Dysfunction.
Yeah,
and this article is very well written. It's part of our National Nutrition Working Group, but we realize the impact on men because in many cases, particularly for younger men, 30s and 40s, we know that erectile dysfunction is oftentimes, you ready for this? One of the first indicators of cardiovascular dysfunction.
Yeah.
Because think about the mechanical process that has to occur. It is sure a neuro process, and you have to have those feelings. But at the end of the day, once you get that nerve stimulation, there are things that occur at the vascular level that if your vessels are sick, you won't have the ability to do what you need to do. Go ahead.
That's correct.
Hop in there.
No. I was just pointing out.
You I don't know what you got turned up.
On one. Please don't tell my business.
So the other point to that is when we think about some of the key contributors to erectile dysfunction, oftentimes I lead in, especially when I see a young man, is to say, hey, look, your blood pressure's up a little bit. Oh, it's always like that. Well, you know that long-standing hypertension is one of the key causes of premature erectile dysfunction. And that usually perks their ears up, because I say, think about what we treat erectile dysfunction with. We treat it with sildenafil or Viagra or agents like that. And what did Viagra start as? As a blood pressure medicine.
Yeah.
Because we know that if we can cause vasodilatation, that means increasing blood flow in various areas. Now, it preferentially worked on...
Big word.
What did I say? Preferentially?
You said vasodilation.
Vasodilatation just means enlargement of the blood vessels, and it preferentially does that in the areas of the genitals for both men and women. And by doing so, you improve blood flow. But what if you could do that naturally with foods, right? So celery has natural nitrates. Another food has natural nitrates. We know there are 5 benefits to a whole food plant-based diet, right?
Yeah,
and one of them is decreasing blood viscosity. The other one is increasing lean muscle mass. A secondary one in terms of that. Oh, I don't know what that was. Something popped up.
I don't know what that was. Somebody was giving you a thumbs up.
I thought it was. I don't know. Nobody should be listening to our content. But what did I say? Increasing lean muscle mass. The next one is going to be reducing blood viscosity. It's going to be improving endothelial dysfunction, and it decreases free radicals, as well as it's an anti-inflammatory. And when you look at all those things in terms of performance, whether you're talking about male performance or athletic performance, because those 5 things come from a paper that we did in 2019 about the benefits of a plant-based diet in endurance athletes, which carry over into strength training athletes, those same things hold true, because at the end of the day, we want to perform, whether that's in the bedroom, on the playing field, in our jobs. And how you do that is providing your body with fuel, with nourishment, with and understanding the importance of recovery in that space.
Yeah. Talk about this, because that was one thing that came up, is that is nitric oxide and the importance of vasodilatation and why that's important. And the reason why I say that, because for some of us who are taking medications, hypertensive medications, not because of we're not inclusive of using or taking or being a part of a plant-based diet, is that we have to take medication because it's hereditary. I am a salt-sensitive hypertensive. I did not think that this show was going to go this way, but I'm a salt-sensitive hypertensive. So no matter what I do, right, I need to lower my salt intake, but I'm still going to have to take something is going to lessen the amount of salt that my body holds. My ancestors came on, all of our, if you look like us, our ancestors came on a ship. And those who survived were the ones who had the ability to retain salt as a mechanism for safety, as a mechanism to live. Not even safety, a mechanism to live. They had to retain salt. Go read it if you don't know. Go read the Middle Passages and understand what happened in the gully or the valley of those ships. Where people were like this together. The ability to retain salt was a mechanism the body had to actually survive, but that mechanism now does not serve us well because we don't need to retain that salt, but it is still a part of our genetic DNA. Wow, when you get 2 really, really smart people talking. That is what I love about this show, Dr. Batts. The thing about it is that taking, and I take an angiotensin receptor blocker or receptor blocker, angiotensin receptor blocker 2, right? And so
you got it.
You can talk more about what that does. But it also depletes the level of magnesium in the body. And so that was one of the things that we talked about. And I'll be vulnerable because I went through a period of time where I was magnesium deficient. And I realized that when I started taking magnesium again, there's something that Dr. Batts can illuminate, but I'll even say is that you'll know how healthy your heart is as a man if you have nocturnal tumescence. Wow. Right?
Yep. We'll say it like that. They can Google and ask Siri what that is.
Yeah, exactly. Hey Siri, what's nocturnal tumescence? But basically, do you have the ability to get an erection while you're sleeping? And that's the thing. And that is an indicator of heart health. If you're not having nocturnal tumescence, or as we call, where you're not getting erections during the sleeping periods, it is a sign to you to say that something may be amiss and that your magnesium levels, you may have early onset of erectile dysfunction, but these are things that can be mitigated, right? And the me taking the magnesium was an eye opener because I was like, oh, wait a minute. Something may have been wrong, but things are all right.
And the beauty of it is we had this conversation with other men who had said, oh, really? And it was all like aha moments for all of us. And kind of circling back to the discussion about the middle passage phenomenon or hypothesis about hypertension. If you Google it, it'll say, well, that was disproven. I still think that there are some, what they call big word, genetic polymorphisms that have yet to be determined because we don't get into studies. We don't get evaluated. But I want people to know that, again, when you look at kind of clinical selection or that natural selective process, people that maintain their ability to manage water and salt were ones that did better, right? When you look at people that come from air conditions in other places. I mean, here recently, we've looked at data in twins, right? If you go to Google or anywhere, you'll see the twin studies that came out about, vegan diet versus not. Even though genetically they're the same, the diet has made some changes. So I think that there are a ton of hypotheses, a ton of ways. But at the end of the day, most folks know what's right. And when we loop back around to the nitric oxide discussion, right, getting it from natural sources, making sure you're supplementing. And is there magic to magnesium? No, but magnesium oftentimes serves as a cofactor to many of the enzymatic processes that might limit your ability to produce nitric oxide naturally. And so what I tell folks to do is
just as an aside, nitric oxide is what you said. It is a vasodilator. It allows your blood vessels to expand. And that's the thing. You want to have big expanded blood vessels. You want to lessen, if I'm correct, like the viscosity of your blood. You want your blood to be, not thick, but thin, moving through those vessels very smoothly. If your blood is thick, your blood pressure is thick because your veins, your body and your heart are pumping blood harder.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a cardiologist and he's the psychologist.
Yeah. We talk about blood viscosity, and it's interesting that, now, even though we can't truly measure it, we have insight to that, right? And one thing that I think about, I'm from North Carolina, you from right up the road in Virginia, is think about, you ready for this? Sweet tea.
Yeah.
How do I take it to sweet tea? So that tea is sweet when you look at it and you can't see through it, right? When it is opaque and it just literally you are drinking that liquid diabetes. We all have been there at the family reunion at the spades table and they bring you that cup of tea and you move it around and that tea don't move. That tea kind of wobbles a little bit. That way it's some good tea. Wobble. And when you drink it, it feel like you are drinking a tea cake because it's so sweet. Well, now imagine that same sugar that you are putting in your body diving into that bloodstream. And that bloodstream, when tea spills, it gets sticky. Well, imagine the inside of your bloodstream getting just that sticky. Right. And those platelets, it's called plaque, right? And it builds up. And over time, what you have is that constant exposure to that sweet tea or that glucose and those type things creates this problem where you start to have early endothelial dysfunction. Now, you say, well, why is that an issue? Well, in the bigger blood vessels, the blood vessels that supply your heart, the blood vessels that go all throughout your body, not an issue. But in the microvasculature, those smaller blood vessels that supply other areas. Yeah. Other areas that we just talked about, plus your brain, plus your eyes. So that's the areas where you start to see those changes earlier, that microvasculature. And then over time, it starts to impact the macrovasculature or the large to medium vessels that we see. So I think that it's not an all or nothing thing. And we all have, I won't say missteps, but ways where we have to make decisions, right? And I think it's about balance. Like I'm in New Orleans, like I am looking for a good vegan spot. The one that I normally go to is closed, so I'm going to have to search, right? But I know that if they have some good things on the menu, investigate.
And New Orleans vegan has come up. I want to say, look up. There's a place I can't remember. Man, they got a vegan Philly. Man, during the pandemic, it's in mid city. It's in mid city.
I got Uber. I'm going. Hey, man, there was a place called. Now I don't know how healthy it is. It's called Two Fat Vegans, and that's not FAT. Yeah, it's PHAT. So I'm gonna probably go there. And then there's another. Yeah.
Pretty high
There's
definition.
another place that I'm on Google, but I'm probably try to hit them both up and see. Now they close a little early, which is good. That means I'm get back to the room and study a little bit and learn a little bit.
I
But
got you.
they close, at 9. So after this,
Oh,
I'll
you
be
better get
heading
it
out.
in. Better get it in.
Oh man,
Let
no
me say
rush, no
this.
rush. I like this conversation.
Let me say this, Doc, because I see conversations on Facebook all the time, typically by women talk about, men who can't get it up. What do you do? Conversation. And it is interesting to say, and I'll say this to the uninitiated, right?
Mhm.
We don't, and tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm just pontificating here. As we're younger, we don't think about the entire system that is at play for people for humans to become aroused. And I don't think we think about that. And particularly as we get older, right, there are so many other factors that play into the level of arousal. That's actually interest, and so, there are times when somebody may not be aroused or interested. And so the psychological response that comes into an erection comes into play as well. And so I think that I just want to say this for everyone. I think that we need to think about everything that's in play when it comes to both, whoever, as a human, when it comes to our body's levels of arousal. Now, there are psychological and physiological things that may be impacting that, but I also don't want to. What I saw in these chats was that there was a lot of shame for men who could not, have an erection or different things like that. And I think that I'm calling that out. I think that we need to actually stop the shame that goes along with it, because we as humans have a number of issues that go through our mind and our bodies that may hamper our arousal, and so trust is a huge thing, and particularly as we get older. And if you're dealing with any sort of trauma, if you're dealing with any sort of, past sexual trauma, that weighs out. Right. That weighs out and weighs into your level of arousal. Trust is big. And for me, trust is huge.
Right.
And I know that, I take my time to build trust because I want to have a great, great experience. But it's not like, look, it's not like the Boy Scout just jumping into, jumping into every,
Right.
yeah, I couldn't find an adjective. So it's interesting. So I think that conversation needs to be had. I think that when we actually start making veiled comments like, well, I would leave, I wouldn't, if he can't pleasure me and all the different things, then I think we lose sight of the human experience. And I think that's where I am, that we lose sight that there may be something greater than, this person cannot be aroused. It may be you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to say that. This has been a wonderful conversation, but I want to move us because it's, at the recording of the show, and this will come out very soon. It's December 14th. Can believe that? It's December 14th. And it's crazy. We've done 9 shows and we've had wonderful conversations. And we're going to keep these conversations going on into the next year. Dr. Batts is our recurring guest. But we talk at length about what it means to be revolutionary in your life. Like, what does it mean? And for those who have not answered the question, there are opportunities for you. And we're excited. We are actually live testing our curriculum as well. I want to say that will go out next year to our folks. I'm gaining feedback from my core folks to see if this really fits. So I'm excited about that curriculum that will help you answer the question and then move through a roadmap that will allow you to fulfill your revolution. Excuse me. Like, how do you revolt and evolve? Right? How do you know your choice points? Who are your midwives? Who needs to see you on this revolution? And then how do you figure out what the next revolution is? That's our 5 tenets. We've been talking about that throughout the year. And that curriculum will help you move through that space. And Dr. Batts and I will be moving and we will be teaching this curriculum together as we think about this. And you think about what we talk about, like cardiovascular health and overall health, right? Think about and how we integrate that into our psychology of being the most revolutionary version of ourselves. So it starts with our mind and our bodies together to be the most revolutionary version of yourself. But Dr. Batts, I wanna spend a few moments talking about closing out your revolution. Closing it out. Like you figured out what the answer was, right? And for me, I've already figured out what my next revolution is going to be, is that I want to spend more time I want to spend more time next year really focused on my blood pressure. My father died of that. My father had vascular dementia. One of the precursors to vascular dementia is hypertension, or that's one of the things. And so I want to mitigate that. I want the last 5 years of my life to be upright, playing pickleball, doing whatever, having nocturnal tumescence, whatever. And so, how do we close out our revolutions, right? How do we make sure that in these waning days and waning moments of the year, Dr. Batts, that we have the ability to say, I can come to completion?
Well, I love that question in the sense where it takes me back. And I had this discussion this past weekend when I was doing a mentorship activity with the National Society of Black Engineers Junior chapter in San Antonio. And they brought me in to talk about heart health and various things and careers in medicine. But as I started to talk to them, I realized that many of these kids were probably the top 2% of wherever they were. And ultimately, I issued a challenge to them. I said, I know you're doing in this space, but one of the ways to allow your revolution to evolve and grow is first to don't look geographically at what your comparators are. We are in a not only national, not really competitive space, but an international competitive space. And for these folks, and you say, well, why are we competing with our revolution? Not from a competitive standpoint, but from a growth standpoint. The goal is that if you can accomplish your revolution by yourself, then it's too small. The first thing you look at is, how do I leverage this in such a way? Now you made the comment, well, I'm looking at my next revolution, but many people can't see the forest from the trees. And so the other thing that I challenge them to is, as a track athlete, if you stare at the finish line, inevitably what you do, you ready for this, is you slow down. Because you say, I'm almost there, and so I'm going to lean my head. And that's not a lean where you're leaning your body. This is the physical aspect of almost bowing out and taking a break. So I say, Don't look at the finish line, stare 5, 10, 20 yards beyond it, and that's your target. And guess what? You'll still zip through the finish line. And if you always look ahead of where that target is, you're looking for your next revolution. Right. The final thing is that on this road to revolution, right? First, we see that it is not a local thing. We want to expand and look more broadly. Then we don't want to stare at the finish line. The final thing and how you put these things together is you have to, this is going to sound crazy, start to link your likes. What? Link the things that you enjoy doing.
You talk about linking Facebook and Instagram?
No, not linking Facebook and Instagram. Link the things that you like to do. Because a lot of kids get caught up, and I say kids because this was a group I focused it to, and I asked them, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to be a biomed. That's great, but what do you like to do for fun? And they said, what? And the parents were even looking, why are you asking my kids? Because it's important that what you do has to be a part of who you are. And who you are is ultimately the things that fulfill you. Hanging out with you, I know it seemed like we actually went into it just to have a fun night. But our true natural selves, our true purpose came out when we started to talk about men's health, economic empowerment, community development. And this was all just natural because it is what we do. And I made the joke to say we should have kept a camera up and made a focus group because we literally
that would have been
developed.
So hot.
You see what I'm saying? And it wasn't we were. So ultimately, first realize that your revolution can be expanded, and how you leverage that is through relationship. Second, don't stare at the finish line. Look 5, 10, 15 yards beyond and keep running once you push through. And thirdly, link the things that you like to do with what you're revolving and evolving into.
Yeah. We can give you a clapping sound here, Dr. Batts.
Don't do that. You're going to end up closing me out.
No.
I was trying to see how that emoji thing came up again, but no, and again, it was from that just organic kind. I couldn't believe how, well, brother, I'm thinking about doing this. I want to be clothing designer, but I'm in IT. I said, why not? Why not set? And I don't remember. I said, why not set up a site where people could go in? You use an AI based system, and it wasn't me. And he said, you know what? I can do all those things. I said, exactly. So you're still working in your space, but you're proving your passion and developing a product that pushes you to your purpose. That is the goal, right?
It's interesting. I'm gonna play on this. To link your likes, right? To think about your revolution. If my revolution is to control my blood pressure naturally, what do I like? Like, how do I link my likes? That's an interesting thing, revolutionaries, like putting your likes together and, making sure that you are, doing the things that can bring about your revolution. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm thinking about how am I working out? How am I working my heart? And I love, plant-based foods, and it is seeking out more opportunities for plant-based foods. It is really, really being intentional about looking at my salt intake and looking at the foods with low salt intake to say, okay, and it is also me drinking. Let me show my Camelback bottle. All right, it is also, I love flavored water. I love flavored water. Put in my little magnesium and different things in there. But that is an opportunity for me to link my likes. Playing pickleball, getting on the Peloton, running, in the gym. Community is also one of those things that lowers blood pressure. And so we talk about this all the time on the show, is how do we lower, or how do we find community? That is the biggest thing. How do we find community and move forward and associate ourselves with people that bring us peace and ease? Life is hard enough, and I'm not saying shy away from the difficulties of life,
right?
But it also means, and shout out to Mrs. Batts. There's a feeling, and there's a hypothesis, that we go out and when we leave out of our doors, there's an armor, there's a uniform, there's a superhero costume, whatever it is. But if we can go back to a place, Dr. Batts, if we can go back to a place where we can strip ourselves, that we can be our most vulnerable selves, that we can find home, and the definition of home, a place that is peaceful. Not everybody goes to home. People go to a house with other folks, but they go home. Home is a place of ease and peace and love and harmony and vulnerability. It doesn't mean that it doesn't get challenging, but 90% of the time, 85% of the time, I'm going home, because home is my place where I have solace. We lower our blood pressure. I'm looking for home. And I think if we link our likes, and I think that is so important that you said that moving to your revolution means that you have to find those things that, that are correlated together, that you can fulfill this revolution. I love that. That is a very purposeful thing, to link your likes in moving towards your revolution.
And again, it was something that, well, first, thank you. I appreciate the discussion point there, but but it was one of those things that came about because when you think about it, it's easier to move. And we kind of talked about this. It's easier to move in a space that you're already comfortable with, right? Because people say, well, why did you start doing fitness and training? Heck, I've been an athlete all my life. Most of my time, I spend working with my kids or working with other youth in the community. I mean, my daughter was a Division I athlete, right? Guess who had to learn volleyball? And I like sports. I like that. But I knew that learning those different positions, in your case, right? You mentioned that you've done that's really forced me. I mean, Peloton, pickleball. You're doing all those activities that you already enjoy in a community of individuals that's going to hold you accountable. And guess what? Your blood pressure, your sense of home, and those type things are going to continue to be fortified by that process. I think one of the difficulties is people oftentimes, and this is going to hurt. Remember, we talked about those three things on as you move forward, and you look at the time, you look at the quality, and you look at the cost. Some of those people aren't willing to step outside of, and I think Joyce, I forget who it was, who talked about that circle. Afraid to step out of that circle and find new circles to help you develop new skills and develop new ways to identify those blind spots in our lives. And by doing so, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, finish.
And by doing so, we limit ourselves the opportunity, just like with you. And I'm going to say that you the first, other than my barber, shout out Will Scott, that basically does Peloton. Now, I still don't know if I'm ready for it, but it is such a big community. You the first brother I know. So I look at you, you come in there looking fit. I said, look at this. look at this fit looking dude, looking like he just jumped off a magazine and ready to run.
Got a white shirt on. You can't see the pecs jump, but I got a white shirt on. My pecs are jump. I just want you to know.
His pecs, and I felt proud. I felt proud. I'm waiting in the hotel. I see him come in, people head turning. He looked like something. And we did a photo shoot. We did a photo shoot actually. And I'm gonna shoot them shots out to you.
I cannot wait. I've been waiting for these photos for like 2 weeks.
No shade, when other projects, I got to close out some other projects, but man, I'm looking at them images and I'm like,
are you a model? Are you a model?
But that was the vibe, right? But it was that just healthy air. We're walking through the crowd and I'm like, this is cool, man. This is my friend who is emoting this energy of positivity, this certain thing. And oftentimes in our church, we say sometimes many of us don't look like what we've been through. And whatever you've been through in your life, whatever you've been through in 2023, this is an opportunity for you to say, I know I've been through those things. But in order to have a testimony, you first got to have a test. And that test might be giving up sugar for a little while. That test might be going plant-based. That test might be looking at some of the deleterious behaviors that you've carried over from your childhood into your adulthood and into your formative life and saying, I'm going to let those go because I want to reach that next portion. I want to get to that next revolution. And sometimes it requires letting go. I talked about things. Sometimes it requires letting go of people. Letting go of things from the past that attach yourself to those old versions of yourself that they still like, but you done buried. You done got rid of many of those things, but they only remember you through that lens. And so it's uncomfortable for them to meet the new version of you. And sometimes you got to act like Teddy P and just say, let it go. Let it go. There you go. You knew where I was going.
Looks like a friendship TKO.
Well. That's the push.
It is interesting that you say that because I've said this, the arduous part about moving back home 3 years is that I was like, oh, I've got this built-in network. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. But the reality, and this is not shade on anybody else, because I didn't grow with folks because they stayed here, and they didn't grow with me because I moved away for 15 years. I travel the world. I've been all across the world. My thoughts about human. I'm a human-centric person. I want to see the humanity in people, and so I will get upset when folks don't see the humanity of people, and I also try to catch myself when I don't see the humanity of it. And so I don't want to say that I'm sitting here perfect, Dr. Batts, because I'm not. But the one thing about emotional intelligence is being self-aware. Can you catch yourself when you are when you're failing? That's the thing. It is not being perfect. Emotional intelligence is not about perfection. It is about being self-aware and saying, okay, I see the behavior that I'm exhibiting. How do I change it? And so the interesting piece is moving home and thinking that I had this built-in network and understanding that the folks that I thought I was coming back for were different.
Right.
And I had to understand, like, wow, my friends see the older versions of me and they're holding on to that. And I'm just not that person anymore. And I had to be okay, Dr. Batts, with, you know what, we may not get down like that anymore. Right. We may not get down like we used to because you don't exhibit the same behaviors that you used to, and I don't. But the one thing that I say is that I want to meet the version of you that you are now. And I'm going to, you could be something wholly different now. But like you said, if I'm holding on to this past version of yourself, then I'm doing you a disservice.
Right.
I'm doing you because whatever work that you've done, whatever, for many of us, we do the work.
That's it.
And we show up differently and we want to be seen as this. At 21, I went from Chucky to Charles and I wanted people to see Charles. At 40, I went from Charles to Dr. Corprew. So I wanted people to see Dr. Corprew. You know what I'm saying? And from 40 to 50, Dr. Corprew went through a whole lot of stuff. Dr. Corprew did a lot of work. A lot of work. So I want people to see Charles and Dr. Corprew and all the amalgamations as who I am at 52. That's what I want you to see. I don't want, look,
Mhm.
hey, there was a password, and we've talked on the show, on that Power of Forgiveness show. There were things that happened 8, 9, 10 years ago that I'm not
Mhm.
proud of, but that was that version of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That was that
Right.
version of me. But this is me now. And so that's the thing. Sometimes the table was full, and sometimes the table is going to get a little, you're going to remove some chairs and you're going
Mhm.
to let people go. And guess what? They're going to let you go.
Right.
And you have to be okay with that.
Right.
That folks are going to let you go. And as the only child, that was hard for me, Dr. Batts. That was hard because, you know, my brothers were were my friends. I didn't
Mhm.
have anything else. And so when you have people that have been there for the long stay of your life, and all of a sudden they're gone, you were like, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Sometimes people leave, and you're not the same, and it's okay.
And I like that you said that, because it also involved you, even the people that you kept, reframing what that relationship meant.
Yeah.
And I'll use, now that he's my friend, Commander Doolittle, right? Because as friends, even though we were unattached, so to speak, and could stay out, we said, hey, look, we respect that you drove us. We're not going to take advantage of your time, even though he was more than willing to stay out and do. But it is understanding those people that you brought with you to that new version. Make sure that you're compassionate enough to understand their life, to understand the things that they have to value, and getting back home and seeing his daughter and getting to, various things, and then having discussions. Because even though you can say, well, man, I don't have kids, but trying to relate. I think the one thing is that we oftentimes want to force our current situation on someone else, but not bring them along and say why it's important for me that I can't stay out till X, and why I can't do Y. Not that I don't want to, it's just these are new obligations that I have to be responsible for, because if I do anything against that, then it changes the version of you that you see. And that's the challenge of understanding what that means. And I'll say this as a father, and it is different being a father to both young men and young women. And I'm navigating that in a way where understanding that the conversations that I have with my two boys, and I say are different just because I know what my expectations are for my boys and girls, not from a success standpoint. And one time I had to explain to my daughter, I said, it is my job to help you understand how a lady should be treated. It is your mom's job to teach you how a woman should act. At the same time, to my young men, it said, it's my job to teach you how a man should act, but it's your mom's job to teach you how you should treat a lady. And those are two totally different things. But when I comport myself, when I have certain actions and behaviors, attitudes, ideas, and even things that I say, I have to be cautious and pause, because I know that they pick up small amounts of this new version. Understanding that things that I would have told my sons 10 years ago with an old version, I got to go back. Oh, well, Dad, you remember you said, oh, yeah. That was a version that wasn't quite evolved as this. And if I said that, that's on me. I misspoke. This is how you should reframe. And sometimes it requires going back to people who you have built those new versions of, and whatever those versions were, and reframing what the new you looks like. And I think, this weekend was a great example, or that weekend that we hung out was a great example of what that means.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that respect that we were able to give to Corey, to be like, okay, look, bro, we know, like, okay, it's time to go. And he was like, yeah, it's time to go. And he would have stayed. Right. He younger bruh, older bruh, he definitely would have stayed. But it's that like, you have other obligations. And this is, right now, like, we can roll, but you got to go home and take care of your family at this point in time. Look, man,
I know.
Yeah, no, I know, man. These are always fun. These are always like the highlight of just the highlight. They're fun. They're informative. They are they can be lowbrow. They can be very highbrow. Dr. Batts is always trying to save face. I try to be the funny one. I met a comedian today. But I just want to continue to say how grateful I am for our friendship and the opportunity for us to spend this time together to uplift our revolutionaries, the people that really are our core believers and our core listeners in uplifting their lives and be the best and most revolutionary that they can be for themselves, their community, and the world. We need you, revolutionaries. Like the world needs your greatness, right? You have something inside of you that nobody else has, and the world needs it. There's so many people out there with great ideas that are holding on to it, and I say that the world needs your greatness. There's somebody out there that says, you know what, I don't know what to do, but you have the answer to that. Can you imagine that, when you have the answer to something that could save somebody's life? Think about that, right? Imagine if Dr. Batts had said he wanted to go to be a real estate agent. Can you imagine that? But the gift and talent that he has is to be one of the world-renowned cardiologists. The ability that he wants to give his talent, time, and treasure back to the community, to say we can be healthier versions of ourselves. The question that I'm asking myself this year is, how do I even be better? How can I feel even better? And having the ability to have Dr. Batts on speed dial. He is number 6 on the speed dial. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Yeah,
that was my Christmas gift, man.
Hey, that is it. To be able to have Dr. Batts and his talent on speed dial is a blessing to the world. Think about that. What are you doing with your talent, revolutionaries? Maybe that's the question that you need to answer. That's right. My revolution is to give my talent out to the world. Wow. Can you imagine that? Dang. Right? To give what you have out to the world, and then to watch it, to seed it out to the world, and then to watch it blossom. Maybe that's the revolution. Because 7 years ago, I decided to do this show, not for myself. Well, selfishly a little bit for myself, because I wanted to interview Black men doing dope Black shit in the world to help me grow and be this version of myself that I am right now. That's what we've done for seven years. January 17th will be our 7-year anniversary. Can you imagine that? 7 years. Week after week, month after month, year after year. Men like Dr. Batts, Chaz Scott, you know, what he said, if you can control your nervous system, you can control your destiny. That was powerful. That was powerful. Kishana Palmer, Joyce Chin, you know what I'm saying? Chris Matthews. All those folks, you know, I mean, just amazing people that have been on this show telling their stories, how they have given their talents out to the world. I want to know, revolutionaries, how you're going to figure out what your talent is and how you're going to give it out to the world. Because if you can do that, we will be better people. I promise you. Look at what Dr. Batts is doing with the world. We are better. I'm a better human because of Dr. Travis Batts. Is there an A in the middle? Is it Dr. Travis A. Batts? Middle name Antonio?
No, it's not.
Anthony.
You know what my middle name is? It's Carlos. Big Los.
Oh, that's what it is. That's where it comes from.
Big Los comes from.
I did not know it. Look, and he is not big. He's like 2 foot.
Hey. Hold on, let me see.
Hey, I'm just saying.
See, now you can see. You can see. You don't matter.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Make sure you take that up. Dr. Batts, I just want to say thank you. The revolutionary, thank you. And thank you for giving your talent out to the world. We are better humans because of that. And in true revolt and evolve fashion, I will leave the floor and the closeout to you.
Well, thank you. And again, I truly appreciate the speed dial. Comment was one that I was not expecting. And I do appreciate that, because I know that opening up your space, opening up your time, and opening up that slot to where you want to contact me at as quickly as you can really means a lot to me. And I'm saying that truthfully. But revolutionaries, as you look at what 2023 has been and what 2024 can be for you, ultimately it comes back to you making a decision that you want to change. Now, the difference in change and chance is only one letter, switching that G to a C and taking a chance on the new version of you. There was an artist that said in a song, he would give you the world. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be worth it. Now you say worth it. What do you mean? You have to find worth in yourself to truly decide what you want to be. That next version, that next opportunity, that next ability to show the world just who you really are. Remember, the goal is not perfection, but it is progress. And I leave you with saying, continue to revolt and evolve.
Yeah, there it is. Revolutionaries, we love you. We love you. We love you. We will see you in 24. And please, if you have any questions, thoughts, reach out to Dr. Batts on his IG and reach out to us. You know, we are here with you. We love you. We love you. We'll talk to you soon. Peace, everyone.